Alright guys, so Saber Medusa is releasing over on the JP version of the game, and I'm glad they didn't take too long on releasing this servant because playing through Paper Moon, it looked like her kit was pretty well ironed out, and then they would release her pretty shortly after that story chapter was finished, and it makes sense, right? The JP's anniversary is right around the corner, so why not throw out a little bit of a bait servant with a limited version of Medusa, who we've all kind of been clamoring for getting a summer version of her. I don't think we're going to get that this year because, that might be a little too generous, giving us the Saber version, a 5-star limited version of Medusa, and then also giving us a summer servant, but maybe next year or something we could see something like that. But she's definitely a very solid servant, not the craziest thing I've ever seen. They've kind of taken her in a bit of a more, I guess, unique direction. She doesn't have like the cookie cutter, really solid kit that you'd want like the best servants in the game to have, but I like that they tried to give her like more of a unique spin on, I guess, a servant's kit, right? They tried to kind of make her, instead of like, here's battery, damage mod, and then 50 million different buffs to kind of give yourself, all this advantage. They at least were like, let's kind of give her more of like a crit niche, and let's kind of play into Medusa's like petrification and stuff. And so I thought that was a little bit interesting, but again, not the most crazy you gotta summon for this servant, especially with anniversary right around the corner, but she is still really good, as we'll go over in this video. Now, you will have to excuse me, I am very tired. It is very early, as all these JP releases are. It is stupid dummy early right now, so just give me a little bit of patience as we cover this servant. But before we begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, as your boy is always going to wake up real early to make sure that you are up to date on both versions of the game, whether that be NA or JP. And if you'd like to see me probably test the servant out later today over on my stream, I do that every single weekday starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on my Twitch, which is linked down in the description down below. But anyway, let's start getting right into this. So first and foremost, as far as her hits are concerned, she's got ridiculous NP gain. I'm absolutely going to love using her because her quick cards seem like they're going to be absolutely nuts, with doing crits all over the place with 4 hits on all of them. Decent enough star gen, not the craziest, but when you're rocking decent hits and you've got the new buffed quick chain that we have over on JP, where quick chains now drop 20 stars instead of 10, you should be fine when it comes to genning stars. And then when you're able to crit on these quick cards, it seems like they're going to be very, very good. Also, if you could find a crit on the arts card over here, even though it only has 2 hits, because it has this 1.14% NP gain over here, you will get a pretty nasty amount of NP gain going. Unfortunately, no NP gain buff on her, which does mean it's a little unfortunate. You're not going to be doing like the Oreshkagol like 300% refund or whatever, but you still will be fine when it comes to refunding and looping your NP. Think of her kind of like Okita or something. She should put up similar results, as these two are built very similarly. You have 1 less hit on Medusa's quick cards, but you also have a little bit more NP gain over someone like Okita over here, so I'm imagining the results for their quick looping and their ability to kind of refund their NP really well on their own quick cards should be similar enough. But let's start going into some of her skills. So first and foremost, we have this first skill, which again, I kind of like. It plays with Medusa's petrification a little bit. If you don't know, Petrify is a little bit better than Stun because it actually bypasses some of these stun resistances and stuff like that, so that can be nice. You have a much better chance of trying to land your petrification, which is nice. And then she's going to be giving herself 50% crit damage on her quick cards, and then she gets an on attack buff where she inflicts curse on the enemy for 5 turns when attacking with her quick cards. Unfortunately, I can tell you there is no like curse damage mod, or there's no way to really take advantage of this curse. But hey, technically you also got Van Gogh, who likes to play around with curse. She's a quick servant. Maybe there's a little bit of synergy there, so maybe you might be able to cook something with that. But realistically, if you're not going to be using her with like Van Gogh or doing anything really funny like that, you're probably just going to be using this as a stun, which does technically function as some method of party survivability, because let's say there's someone that's going to fire an AoE NP, you could stun them, protect the whole party for a turn. That's kind of nice. She can also do insane quick crits, which, because Scotty already gives you the 100% quick crit damage, I'd much rather this have been just 50% free crit damage, but I guess it's fine. I mean, she's got the triple quick deck over here, so you're going to be using your quick cards mostly anyway, and so it does mean with, say, original caster Scotty, your quick cards are going to be insanely strong at just being able to mow down people. Think of your quick cards as like secondary NPs at this point. They're just going to be quick critting all over the place. You're going to be doing like 100k on a crit or something. You're going to be doing insane amounts of damage. So That's kind of nice if you want to think about it that way, because you're getting 100% per Scotty, so that's going to be kind of nice, I suppose. But interesting first skill, not the craziest thing, because I do wish she really had a way to take advantage of this curse with a damage mod, or maybe it let her build up damage, or I don't know, if she was attacking a cursed enemy, maybe she got a little bit of extra attack or something like that. But who knows, maybe in the future they'll give her some kind of buff that allows her to really take advantage of this. Second skill, this is just generic good stuff. All of this is just nice. Dude, 50% battery, there's no real way to criticize that. That makes her really good for boss fights, and it also gives her a little bit of a niche as a farmer, in the same way of, say, someone like Kentucky, where if you do need someone to just clap up some really big person in one of like the free quest nodes, let's say you're fighting like a 313 node where there just happens to be one large enemy, which is getting more and more frequent on those 90 plus and 90 plus nodes, she can do that for you, as she's also going to be increasing the party's attack by 20%, which is nice. Take note of that. She will be able to kind of double buff herself, which is really good. And then this is what I was talking about. She has like an interesting ability. Instead of getting like a demonic special damage mod, she does get increased critical damage on the demonic allies for 3 turns. This is kind of interesting. Instead of giving her a damage mod, she's kind of pseudo buffing other people, and I think that's kind of neat, because she also has an effect on her NP that also kind of functions as support, as we'll get to later. But it's like, I don't know, it might have been better to toss her one damage mod here or there, something along those lines. That might have been really nice to give her, but I think she's kind of neat as this kind of pseudo support, pseudo DPS servant, because they're at least kind of leaning into it, with her, for one, having the ability to quote unquote support the party by keeping everybody alive by actually, you know, stunning one of your enemies. And then she also provides attack and crit damage for some of these demonic servants over here. And there's not a whole lot of these guys, but I think you could maybe do some interesting things with some of the other quick servants over here. Say, for instance, someone like Sith, who has the ability to like seal enemies, NPs, and skills. You might be able to do something interesting like that if you don't want to just do the traditional like double Scotty team nuke everybody, right? The standard quick gameplay. If you want to do something a little bit more interesting, maybe you could also bring someone like Huyan, or the new spider lady, Kachin Kojin over here, I believe her name is. Let's say you want to bring people like that and maybe add them as like star genning support, I suppose. Stuff like that could be a little bit interesting, but let's also be honest, you're probably just going to bring double Scotty and nuke people, but it does give a little bit of interesting styles of gameplay for her that could be fun to play around with if you do want to explore those options. Unfortunately, she doesn't have the own demonic trait for herself, so this is not crit damage that she's going to be giving to herself, but it's fine. She's got enough going as is. I mean, she's got the 50% on her quick cards, of which she's got 3, so she should be fine when it comes to normal crit damage. Finally, there's her third skill over here. This is just like really good survivability. She's giving herself 3 hits of invincibility for 3 turns, 3 instances of debuff immunity for 3 turns, and then she's increasing her own critical attack resistance by 30% for 3 turns. This is just really nice at keeping your Medusa alive, because this is functionally like the coup dodge skill, but it's just on turn counts. That's kind of how I describe it to people. This is also really good because this is going to prevent your Medusa from being like stunned, charmed, having her attack lower, just a bunch of annoying stuff that bosses are going to try to do to her to stop her. She's just going to be completely immune to all that. That is very, very good. And then she also may or may not actually get obliterated by enemy crits, because she at least has a little bit of counterplay to that by being able to resist their crits somewhat. So it's just nice for keeping her around. She shouldn't really be getting hit by crits anyway, because she does have this invincibility over here. But let's say the enemy is just really targeting Medusa. They just keep hammering away at her. You have at least some other way to kind of counter the crits they're throwing her way as well. So, all right, something to correct here over for the NP, because in between me actually recording this bit for the NP, I went and like looked at her in game and noticed that she had a little damage mod thing, and I was like, huh, that's really strange. That's not listed on the wiki. So I went over to Atlas to double check to make sure that I wasn't insane, and I was like, okay, she does actually have a special damage mod against man attribute enemies. And I added a little correction thing towards the beginning of this video, or at least there should be one, because now this servant has gone up a little bit in my books, because her NP was already really solid when you look at it at base right here. It's a 9-hit single target quick NP with really high NP gain backing it up. It has the chance to petrify an enemy, which again gets around the stun chances. It's giving Earth attribute allies a pretty solid attack buff with that 20% right there. And then she's also giving herself a smaller 10% quick buff that does proc first. So that's what I meant, that she could double buff herself towards the beginning of the video, but now she could potentially triple buff herself with this special damage bond against man attribute enemies. So that's actually very, very interesting, and it does make her go up a little bit in my books. And then I went ahead and pulled up to see how much damage she could actually do, and yeah, she could definitely kind of get up there. Not the most crazy numbers on the planet, right? But being able to kind of get in that range of, say, Okita over here, right? Because I don't know how many people actually use Nero Bright as a DPS. I don't know if that actually really gives people a good gauge for this servant, but a lot of people do use Okita. And so if you're using your Okita with the attack buffs, you're going to be hitting a little bit harder than that as kind of a reference. And so this servant's kind of going up a little bit in my books, because these damage mods, like say the man one, the earth attribute one, which let me just go ahead and just pull this up just so I can actually show this to people. But these give you a whole smattering of different servants that you're going to be able to hit. Not only will you be doing better against a lot of these guys neutrally, but any of these lancers or these berserkers are going to get absolutely cooked by Saber Medusa. But that's not all. The reason I really like these damage mods, the different attribute ones, is because they also include these main enemies over here that you may encounter in some nodes. Now, like I was saying earlier, she can be really good for, say, farming, right? If you find some one really big enemy in some random free quest node, right, that you're going to be farming on an event. Most of these guys probably aren't going to fall into that, unfortunately, but it will be nice. Let's say there's a boss fight, you got to fight, I don't know, Saber Alter, and she's got these hoodlums with her, right? She's got her goons or something, and she'll be able to get damage mod against those guys, right? It's just very useful to also have this in the back pocket, but you're mostly going to be using it as a single target servant to cook up all these guys up here. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in here towards the end of the video. I wanted to fix the mistake that I made it at the beginning, because I was like, you know what, this feels like a very incomplete kit. Let me just go double check and make sure that I'm not missing out anything on this servant. And I was like, nope, she's actually a little bit better than I was thinking, right? So she is actually pretty solid. I don't think you need to go summon for this servant still right before anniversary, because more than likely anniversary on JP I'm expecting to be very crazy, especially if they, God forbid, release someone like Olga with that 300% battery that she had during Lost Belt 7, right? If her NPC servant is anything reflective of what she might be in game, she might be absolutely bonkers. Then again, we don't know if we're going to be getting Olga. We could be getting some absolute random servant out of complete left field for anniversary. It could be Solomon, and he could be like Scotty 2.0 or something. I guess technically 3.0, because Ruler Scotty is Scotty 2.0, but this is a very solid servant. I kind of see this as good on a GSSR, right? Like, kind of imagine for like anniversary or for New Year's, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go pull on this quick GSSR or the Saber one, and if Medusa is one of the options, she's just a really good option on there for most people. But unless your favorite servant is Medusa, I don't advise summoning for this servant, because anniversary is probably going to release a very nutty servant. There's been very few anniversaries where the servant that's released wasn't like the craziest thing, and I think that's really like anniversary 1 and 2 with like Da Vinci and Sherlock. Everyone else was crazy with, you know, Scotty, Da Vinci Rider, you have Castoria, you have Koyanskaya, you have Arkweed. Like, all those guys are just really crazy. So I'd probably hold out my Sand Quartz a little bit, but she definitely looks a little bit better now that I've like actually went and looked and be like, oh no, wait, she does have this man attribute damage mod over here. This definitely makes her a lot better over here. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Sorry for me having a little mess up. It is very early. I'm very tired, but I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments down below of how good you think this servant is. Again, I kind of see it as almost like a new version of Okita, because they're built very similarly. It's just instead of the generic attack buff, she's got the man attribute thing. But would love to hear all that in the comments down below. But with that being said, your boy's gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna catch some Z's, and you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace late, guys.